Wow. Okay. So full disclosure, guys, I was gonna do this whole little intro thing about how, about how Netflix can do Hallmark movies better than the actual Hallmark channel, and that's basically the reason why there is no Hallmark streaming service that's super successful. But yeah, as it turns out, apparently they do have their own streaming service. Wow. And here I thought 2020 could not get any more disappointing. Good times. Cue the music. Hey, what's up everybody? How's it going? How you doing? Welcome back to the channel. So today's Netflix movie is called Holidate. And in case you couldn't tell from the intro, yes, it's true. Netflix does do the Hallmark channel better than the actual Hallmark channel. And take this with a grain of salt, but this movie kind of already had an unfair advantage because I have a thing for portmanteaus, or as I like to call it, wordsmithing. And if you don't know what that is, it's when they take two words that sound good put together and they just run with it. Holiday, promposal, staycation, all those things. And if you want a real life example, we found a bunch of kitties in our front yard recently and we had like a little patio area, sectioned off for them, and I called it the catio. I'll see myself out now. But anywho, the basic plot of this movie, you have Emma Roberts as the main female lead and Luke Bracey as the main male lead. And these two characters just so happen to have relationship problems. So, in lieu of that, they decide to, hey, why don't we be each other's dates during holidays so it's not awkward when we're hanging out with our families and, that type of thing. And there's the added benefit that neither one of us can be lonely on a time where you're supposed to be together with people and all that other stuff. So they start doing that, and this movie chronicles all the adventures / misadventures that come along with that, and then there's a bunch of side characters with little subplots and all that movies and things. And the biggest thing that I'm going to mention, first and foremost, is that the movie was actually pretty hilarious. And I was reminded of that towards the end of the movie when I saw little bits of my spit on the computer screen because I was laughing and projecting, and it's kind of gross. But at the same time, it's also a dead giveaway that the movie was funny, so that's pretty good for square one, right? The movie wasn't perfect though, it wasn't awesome, it wasn't Academy Award worthy, but overall, I would say I had a pretty good time. And on top of being funny, the movie was also quite self-aware and pointed out some of the tropes that happen in other romantic films. And I thought that was good. Because realistically, if there's anybody who just enjoys just trashing Lifetime movies, it's probably me. Because 9 times out of 10, those movies are just sappy, cheesy, and just all around annoying. And what this movie did was it pointed out very blatantly a lot of those like romantic tropes that are seen in a lot of movies like that, which is a way of letting us, the audience, know, hey, we're aware of what we're doing, but we're gonna lean into it. And we're gonna make it so noticeably ridiculous that it plays into the comedic aspect of it. And I thought that worked out more often than not. If anything, I would say one of the negatives about the movie is that it actually didn't lean into the cheese quite hard enough. I feel like they could have taken a few things a few steps further, but either way, the movie still did it in a way more refreshing way than any Hallmark movie ever could ever in its entire lifespan. And some of the technical aspects of the movie, like your cinematographies, your sound editing, and all that other jargon, it was fine, it was serviceable, it wasn't anything crazy. But you know what? It didn't need to be, because this movie is a comedy, and the first goal, first and foremost, is to make you guys laugh. And that's what it did for me. Hopefully it does for other people. And another cool thing was that this movie was extremely raunchy. It's not raunchy to the point where it's offensive, but it's raunchy to the point where it's a little edgy if you're watching this with like your family or something, you know what I mean? Like there's little kids that say bad words, and then there's like double entendres and sexual innuendos and stuff like that, And yet another cool thing though is that the movie didn't rely on jokes like that, so that's not every single joke that you heard. I have to say kudos to most of the actors in the movie because the majority of the comedy came with the delivery of a lot of the lines they were given. And the editing wasn't perfect in the movie, but there were some things that should not have been comedic, but the editing kind of made it funny, so that also was a cool thing. And although a lot of like the cheesy, corny aspects that they leaned into, a lot of the times that did work, but another negative that I have about the movie is that sometimes there was a couple moments where I was like not a fan of what they were trying to do. Because props to this movie for leaning into some of the tropey things that happen into it, but every once in a while it's not that they would lean too hard into it, it's that they would lean the wrong way to the point where it was annoying as opposed to funny, if that makes any sense. But that also might just be me because there's a lot of awkward humor, quote unquote, that I'm just not a big fan of. Like if you've ever seen any of the American Pie movies when there's a lot of awkward moments that are supposed to be hilarious and you're losing your mind laughing, but most of the time it just comes off as awkward, like this is terrible. I don't want to be in this situation, nor do I want to watch anybody in this situation. And this movie had a couple moments like that, but they're few and far between, and all the funny bits in the movie made those unbearable moments slightly more tolerable. And sure, this movie falls under the rom-com category, so it's a little bit predictable, but if you can make the journey on the way to the predictability interesting, then you have a successful film. Because I think they injected enough comedy and they spent enough time with side characters and subplots and made that funny to make one cohesive story that just, I don't know, it just came together very well for some reason. And the movie also did a good job of making you care about all of the characters and not just the main couple. Each character at some point or another felt relatable to some aspect of life, whether it was like marriage or kids or anything like that. So if I were to recommend this movie, this is a pretty good family movie if you have a family that's not uptight and they're cool about bad language and things. But yeah, guys, if you couldn't already tell, I really enjoyed this movie. I highly recommend it. It's not awesome. There's some things that are imperfect about it, but that's typical. So I think for a score out of 10, I think I'm gonna give it a good 8.6. It's got a lot of laughs, it's got a lot of personality. You can tell they really put some effort into this movie. And if the guy or gal that directed this movie makes another movie, I'm definitely on board for whatever they do next, because the comedic timing in this movie was awesome. But anyway, guys, those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Have you guys seen this movie? Have you even heard of it? Hop in the comments. Let me know what's up. Other than that, if you like this review, give me a like, subscribe, share, hit the bell, do all that other YouTube-y stuff. And I'll catch you guys next time.